Hi guys, today we'll be covering a 2008 Thai martial arts film called Somtam. All the relevant links and information for the film will be in the pinned comment below, so let's get into it. Barney Emerald has won the lottery for the Pattaya trip, so he's come to the city to spend a vacation for a week or two. He is a carefree guy. While roaming in the city, a girl in a bar makes him drunk and takes him somewhere, stealing all his belongings, passport and money, leaving him penniless. Right now, he's half naked and is playing with a little girl as he's waiting for his turn in the police station. He's come to get some help to track down the woman who has caused his misfortune. After a while, Officer Pong tells him that they're trying their best to catch the culprit, but he still needs to wait for some more days. He explains the situation of not having any money or a place to stay there. Barney is handed a letter and then asked to contact the tourist aid center for help. The officer sympathizes with them and gives him 50 baht for the bus. He's grateful for this small gesture of help. The little girl waves goodbye and he catches a ride to the tourist help center. But to his disappointment, the center has been closed for renovation. Perplexed, he then wanders into the city. While he's sitting on the pathway, a small girl comes running from the gangsters and hides behind the menu board next to him. Unable to find her nearby, one of the guys asks Barney if he's seen a little girl running. He was so much into his own thoughts that he didn't even notice the girl. The gangsters were just about to leave when he leans against the board and the girl screams in panic. The scream makes the gangster's head turn back to them. The girl is Katen, and she begs Barney to help her and tells him that the gangsters are here to rob her money. Barney's muscular physique and towering height scare them, even when all he did was stand up and ask them to calm down. Katen grabs the opportunity and does not hesitate to brag about him being her friend. The guys then bring wooden sticks and are in defensive mode. Despite having a well-built body, Barney is a scaredy cat type of person. He's scared by the clunking and thudding noise of a passing auto rickshaw and gets on all fours. Relieved, the gangster attacks Katen and she hides under Barney. He takes the hits for her. Thankfully, Dokya, Katen's sister, a Muay Thai fighter, intervenes. She kicks and beats them to a pulp. Taking the benefit of Barney's huge body, the sisters finally manage to subdue all three gangsters and run away. In hiding, Dokya asks her little sister why those bad guys were after them. Katen affirms not having anything to do with them and even blatantly says that the big guy must have some trouble with those gangsters. But the plot reveals that she's pickpocketed one of the guys earlier and the sister doesn't know the truth. Katen convinces her sister that they return home as she has had a bad day. Just as they take a turn, they see Barney holding a bunch of shell accessories that she's dropped during their brawl. He hands them over to her and introduces himself. Seeing his head bleeding, the girls are uncertain what they're to do about him. Eventually, they take him to the temple. His arrival wakes the father monk and the other children. After learning about his situation, the monk permits him to stay with them until he gets his passport and asks Katen to buy him some clothes. After showing him the place to sleep, the girls return back to their home. Katen is an orphan who used to stay with the monk at the temple, but she was taken in by Dokya's family who loved her as their own. At home, their mother gives them an earful for getting involved in a fight and hurting themselves. She warns them that if she ever catches them lying or fighting with others, she'll spank both of them to death. At the temple, Barney is sleeping in the same room as the other kids, but his snoring is disturbing their sleep. In the morning, the kids startle him by waking him up with a loudspeaker. Later, he's asked to help the monk around the town. They all have lunch at the temple, and Barney helps with the chores as well. One day, Katen and Dokya take Barney to their mother's restaurant. The mother is startled by his countenance, but nevertheless, she welcomes him. Since they're in a restaurant, he expresses his desire to try their food there. They gladly offer him somtam, a papaya salad. As Barney takes his first bite, he experiences a kick of spiciness from the salad. His vision turns blurry, and his whole body turns red. To cool down the heat, he goes crazy in search of water, during which he ends up wrecking the restaurant. After calming himself down, he apologizes for the trouble he caused and vows to make it up to them. He says he'll do anything to earn money and fix their restaurant. Barney then agrees to fight in the fight club if he can make money from it. Next, Barney is all set to learn Muay Thai from Dokya. He's learning the skill diligently from her. Subsequently, the girls and Barney are bonding well together. They encourage him to have a strong heart to be a good fighter. Even after all the training, he still cannot win a fight against a kid. In the next scene, the Camellia diamond set, which was to be exhibited at the World Jewelry Fair, has been stolen. It was kept in the vault of Wilfred Diamond International. The event makes headlines in many newspapers. A gang of three, Eid, Ryan, and Jojo, stole the diamond set with their detailed planning. The trio has hidden the necklace set in the laptop with a special lock that can only be opened with a specially crafted crystal. After getting their hands on the set, they are to fly to Brunei, deliver the package, get paid for their work, and go their own way. Since they have around 4 days to catch the flight, Jojo suggests that they should make the most of the time and enjoy the city. Eid, being a Thai person, is asked to provide his hospitality to them in his home country. Next, being a Muay Thai fighter herself, Dakya pulls her connections and asks Yong to let Barney fight in the ring. While they're watching a match live in the ring, the girls imagine Barney getting beaten and breathing his last breath there. Consequently, they abandon the idea of letting him fight in the ring. Later, Katen takes him to the tourist service center. On the way, Barney sees the girl who has tricked him and robbed all of his belongings. He chases after her and reaches their lair where the 3 other guys are working on fake passports. Officer Pong catches sight of him running after the girl, so he also follows him there. The officer and the fake passport dealers get into a fight. Meanwhile, Barney asks Katen to help him find his passport. Katen finds his passport, but without letting him know, she sneaks the passport into her bag. At last, the officer takes care of the criminals. Next, we see the sisters discussing how they can help their mother. Katen decides to talk to their mother for permission to let Dakya fight in the fight club. That night, she sweet-talks her mother and deceives her by saying that it's just a Muay Thai dancing contest and the winner gets a huge prize money. At night, Katen and Dakya take Barney to the fighting match as well. The diamond set-stealing gang has also come to the arena to enjoy the match. At last, the most awaited match of Dakya is next in the lineup. She enters the ring, and upon seeing a girl in the ring, Jojo makes some derogatory remarks about her. Katen and Barney glare at that person upon his remarks. A male rising star, Ritdej, is set as Dakya's opponent for the match by Yong upon receiving the money from the gangsters from before. Katen asks her not to fight this unfair match and to return back home. If Dakya is to win against this male opponent, she'll be taking home 10 times the amount of the bet money. Therefore, she has no intention of giving up without putting up a proper fight. The match begins initially. She attacks with all her might, swiftly dodging his hits. Later, Ritdej goes berserk and kicks her ruthlessly. Barney expresses his concern for her and tells Katen that Dakya should give up. The little sister is annoyed by his words. She tells him that Dakya is fighting so that she can get the prize money, and all of this is because of him. During the break, Yong signals for a man to put a metal bar on Ritdej's hand. Dakya is then punched with a metal bar in his hand, and she almost loses consciousness. But remembering her mother's face added fuel to her fighting spirit, and she knocks down her opponent. The referee is then having the countdown on the collapsed fighter. Knowing that they're about to lose, Yong signals the bell to be rung. The match ends in a tie. After the match, Yong backs out from his promise and gives them only 1,000 baht, claiming that she didn't win the match. Barney steps forward to oppose, but Yong calls his men and they start beating him. Defeated mentally, they come back home and are greeted by their mother at the gate. Looking at the battered face of her daughter, the mother is heartbroken. The girls did break their promise of not fighting. Dakya believed that her mother had given her permission to fight in the club, but she's disappointed in Katen for lying to both her and their mother. She walks away to get peace of mind as her little sister follows her. After a while, they make up and hug each other, and Barney is glad to see the sisters reconcile. We see Barney has now started working in the fish market. With his hard-earned money, he buys the construction materials for the restaurant. They're finally opening their new restaurant on the beach, and Barney is helping the ladies with the work. More than being helpful, he proves to be in the way of their work. The next day, Dakya has come to the market to get some fresh papaya for their restaurant. There, she encounters Ritdej, who intentionally has come to pick a fight with her since she'd beaten him in the fight match previously. He attacks her, but she's not the one to be intimidated by this confrontation. She puts up a good fight and everyone in the market cheers for her. The auto riders have ganged up against Dakya, whereas the papaya vendor girl has teamed up with Dakya to beat those guys to a pulp. The guys retreat after losing face in front of the crowd. The vendor girl even helps her to promote a restaurant in the market. Afterward, many people start to visit their restaurant, resulting in their business flourishing. On the other hand, the robbery gang is distressed about losing the crystal that's the key to the laptop lock. They've turned their hotel room upside down to search for the crystal, but it was to no avail. Now they're in the fight club to look over the CCTV footage of that day in hope of finding anything related to the crystal. They've paid the club owner a huge sum to access the footage. Luckily, the footage captured a boy bumping into them and that boy passing something to Katen. For now, they conclude that Katen is the one who possesses the crystal key. They make a deal with the club owner to help them get the girl, and in return, he'll be rewarded an additional 100 grand. Next, it's Dokya's birthday, and they're gathered to celebrate among themselves. Katen gives Dokya the necklace made out of that crystal as a birthday present. Dokya asks her if it was stolen from someone. Katen denies stealing it and says that the crystal is fake and inexpensive. She even gifts Barney a new set of clothes. The next day, Katen, Dokya, and Barney are out for a walk when a van stops in front of them. From the van appears the same bully gangsters, and they take all three of them to Eid's gang. They try to make Katen speak about the crystal, but when she doesn't talk, Ryan loses his cool and grabs her neck. Dokya tries to help her sister, but he slaps her, causing her to fall to the ground. The fall exposes the crystal necklace around her neck. Ryan steps on her stomach, restricting her movements, and yanks the crystal off her neck. As soon as he gets his hand on the crystal, a gun is pointed at his temple. Eid has formed an alliance with the club owner, Yong, and the gangster to betray Ryan and Jojo. With his quick thinking, he steps hard on Dokya's stomach, to which she screams, and he then drops the crystal into her mouth and he grabs her. Dokya then kicks his leg and escapes from there. Next, Eid orders the club owner to meet him at the airport directly after catching the girl. The club owner orders the gangster to kill Katen and Barney and leaves. The two try to run away but didn't succeed. However, now they're held against the dining room table where Katen sees a plate of somtam and devises a quick plan. She asks Barney to open his mouth and then stuffs a handful of spicy somtam into his mouth. Quick enough, the reaction occurs and he turns red with incredible power. Two of the gangsters run away and the remaining one is taken care of by him. Barney then goes to save Dokya, but before he can reach her, she's taken by Eid. As Eid escapes, Barney and Katen also follow close behind them. Dokya is not the girl who will sit upright scared in that situation, so she kicks the face of the guy driving the Jeep, making him lose control over the steering. The uncontrolled Jeep heads straight to the food stall and crashes. Dokya once again makes her escape, but this time they're in a warehouse, and there stand three bulky men who can match Barney in terms of strength. They gang up on him and beat him ruthlessly. Being sharp-sighted, Katen sees the ingredients in mortar, so she quickly prepares the somtam. Upon finding a suitable opportunity, she feeds the somtam to Barney. Once again, he's filled with monstrous power and pulverizes his opposition, while Dokya takes care of Yong and other lackeys. Later, Dokya is once again caught and taken by the club owner. While Barney goes after her, he's shot by Eid. Katen tries to help him up, but she sees that Ryan shoots the club owner and is now taking her sister onto the plane. Hence, feeling the urgency to go after her sister is greater. She apologizes to Barney for hiding his passport and not being able to help. She then leaves him behind, handing him his passport. Barney looks at his passport and finds a drawing acknowledging him as a family member. So, gathering all his might, he runs toward the advancing plane and thrashes his body into the cockpit. Inside the plane, Eid stabs Ryan and Dokya tries to flee. Just as he's about to chase her, Ryan takes out his gun and shoots him. Barney handles Jojo outside the plane. He checks inside the plane but cannot find Dokya, so he flips the plane. Reaching his limits, Barney collapses to the ground. The sisters cry, thinking that he's died. Katen then calls his name and asks him to open his mouth. After listening to "Open Your Mouth," he gains consciousness, but looking at the somtam in her hand, he's terrified and runs away from them. Later after that incident, Barney takes Katen to his home country and takes care of her like his own daughter. There, they've opened a somtam restaurant. She frequently writes to her sister and mother back in Pattaya, asking about their life and also telling about her happy life with Barney.